only goddamn time you ever hear me say run Atraxa.
Hey, this is the Commander Cookout Podcast, episode 69. I'm Brando. I'm here with Ryan, and today we're going to continue the arc of the Planeswalker by talking about the driving force behind the greatest Magic story never told. Now hit our theme song! Hey Ryan, we're back for yet another whirlwind adventure. How you doing?
Good. What's going down?
Whole ton is going down. We're back to talk about yet another obscure Planeswalker deck and have a amazing time doing it. Also, I think we have some stories of deck building and Magic playing, which feed into a conversation that we've been having on our Facebook page.
Oy.
So lots going on, lots to get into.
It's ironic, really. So we reach out to the Facebook group and a couple of our longtime patrons about the Vivictus Asmodi the Dire deck that we touched on last week. Turns out, land destruction, not quite the boogeyman that it used to be in the format, says our Facebook followers and patrons.
I think that that's mostly true. Land destruction, for the most part, is not really that good. We built a land destruction deck here a few weeks ago during Arc of Opposition, I believe.
We did?
The Golgari deck. We did a Golgari Voltron land destruction. I forget why we did
Oh, yeah,
that.
that's right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, unless you're talking Zozu the Punisher, for the most part, I think land destruction in EDH is pretty fair.
Yeah, and here's the thing, we don't want to get into it too much because there's enough here to do an episode on, but you could use it to protect a win condition, make it so people don't counter your stuff because they don't have any lands. You could do kind of like a Staxy type build, which is maybe perfect for today's list.
Or you could use it to draw all the hate at the table and make sure that you have absolutely no fun for the entire night.
That's what I did.
Yeah, don't do it like that, kids.
Whoops. So, yeah, a couple tweaks to the Vivictus deck. We're going to tech it out a couple weeks from now, maybe, once we finish up the arc of the Planeswalker. We're not doing a Planeswalker deck today, but we are doing another theme-ish type build with somebody who is friends with a Planeswalker.
You're right. The Planeswalker that I had in mind, I guess, is a Planeswalker. But yeah, the general is not. He was a good homie of a Planeswalker, though.
Yeah, for sure. So today we are doing Chromium the Mutable, and I know that the Elder Dragons from M19 are getting covered a lot right now because they're fairly new. We're going to give you a little bit of a different take on it. So if you're into Esper, I alluded to it a little bit, Staxy control builds with a touch of Voltron, maybe this is your shit.
Also, if you've ever wondered what it looks like when a Groll player tries to build an Esper control list, stay tuned.
So terrible. I've got a lot of notes on how bad this deck is. But we're going to fix it up and make it good as soon as Brando does our social media coordinates, and we have a couple shout-outs. So let's get right to it.
Okay, we are CCOPodcast on Twitter and tappedout.net. That's where you can see this list, next week's list, last week's list, any other list we've talked about over the course of the show. We are commandercookout@gmail.com. That's where you can send us any love mail, hate mail, show suggestions, Planeswalkers you want to see in this arc, discussion topics you'd like to hear us address, maybe suggestions to what you want to see on the website, but no nudes.
It's funny. You remember I told you I've been doing altars for people online. I got sent a nude, and I got asked to do a nude. Not of me, but of something. Didn't end up doing the nude, did something else. But yeah, nudes. They're all around.
Nudes are everywhere. It's the internet. It's a crazy place.
Yeah, don't go on the internet.
Don't Google nudes on the internet. We are also Commander Cookout on iTunes, Google Play, Google Machine, edhrec.com, flipsidegaming.com, where you can use promo codes CCOFU to get 10% off store-wide. We're also Commander Cookout on YouTube, Patreon, Podomatic, where we are trying to take down them scrapbooking ladies, and the actual official home of Commander Cookout Podcast, CommanderCookout.com.
Yeah, not a whole lot there right now because we are in talks with each other to set up what kind of future content we're going to provide to CCO Nation, but all of our backlog is there. Not that I'm telling you to not go to Podomatic because you need to go there to like us, to beat the ninnies, but it is a little bit easier to find everything there if you don't like doing the YouTube or iTunes or Google Play kind of backlog thing on your phone. You could go to CommanderCookout.com.
Yes. Also, speaking of Podomatic, if you go there, you have at least another week to like us, follow us there, or on Facebook, which we are Commander Cookout on Facebook as well, to get entered into our Kenrith Twins giveaway contest.
Yeah, for sure. Battle tested and victorious. Foil promo Will and Rowan Kenrith, given to you for free for helping spread the word of CCO Nation.
Yes, and I think we're giving those away. Is it next week or the week after?
Well, I think next week is what we talked about being the final episode in Arc of Planeswalker. I think that we do it on next week's show.
Excellent. So you have at least 7 more days to like, share, get us out there, and we will maybe be giving you some cool stuff. Maybe we'll throw in some stuff from the foil bag. It's been a long time since I went into the foil bag for prizes.
Gross. Speaking of giveaways, and I mentioned altars, big shout out to everybody who bid on the altars on the Facebook page. I do want to say we're not turning the Facebook page into an auction page for my altars, but we have been asked to maybe put them on like a store on CommanderCookout.com. So we're talking about that. We're seeing what that kind of looks like, and if there's any interest, if you like that idea, let us know either on Facebook or Twitter. And I'm going to be continuing about once a week to put a few altars up. So big shout out to everyone who bids. And if you are a bidder, I didn't mention it for this time, but the last time I had auctions up, if you bid, you do get an entry into the current ARCS giveaway.
That is true.
So, shout outs.
Shout outs.
Shout out to Keith Wilder New Year. That's a weird name.
Keith Wilder New Year?
That's his Facebook name. He's the winner of the Skooma Altered Soul Ring for Wedge from the Mana Source. So big shout out to him.
I don't think we need to give him a funny nickname. His name's Wilder New Year.
So sweet.
It sounds like my new year every year.
Keith, big shout out. Jay Sage got his address. He's going to ship him the Soul Ring. Shout out to Mark Morales, patron.
Is he a baseball player?
Nope.
Is he a flamenco guitar player?
Probably not.
Who is this guy?
He actually could be a flamenco guitar player. He is from Spain. He said, don't worry about mispronouncing his last name because in Catalonian, the double L sound doesn't exist in English. So I think that we're just going to call him Mark. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Mark. Got it.
Perfect.
Shout out to you.
Me?
No, him.
Oh, F you.
Should we do a list?
A list? Sure, I guess we could do a list. That's what we're here for.
I suppose we mentioned him off the top. Chromium the Mutable. Give him a read.
Chromium the Mutable is a 7/7 for white, blue, black 4. Flash, can't be countered, flyer, with, discard a card until end of turn. Chromium the Mutable becomes a human with base power and toughness 1/1, loses all abilities, gains hexproof, can't be blocked.
Huh. So, being the Arc of the Planeswalker, and knowing that Chromium is not a Planeswalker, what the F?
Chromium was in
Wait, let me rephrase. What the F? In 2 minutes or less.
Chromium was actually the good buddy of a Planeswalker named Ravadel. Ravadel was formerly not a Planeswalker, as they usually are, who was taken on as a mage's assistant by a Planeswalker whose name I can't remember and isn't even important anyway.
F that guy.
Now that guy was a member of, or the dude that actually caused the Summit of the Null Moon to happen, and Ravadel and Chromium were both killed.
Whoa.
Then a couple other Planeswalkers who I had never heard of until I started doing this arc came along, brought Ravadel back to life with his Planeswalker's spark, but when he came back, he was all depraved and insane and super pissed off that his mentor and all of his compatriots had, let him die, and his best buddy got killed.
Shitty deal.
So what he decided to do was he went out and he rounded up all the Moxen, like Mox Ruby, Mox Pearl, Mox Emerald, Mox Jet, all those things, smashed them all together, and made a beacon in Corondor to drag all the Planeswalkers that had ever wronged him to that place and have them fight to the death while he watched and kind of laughed a little bit.
Gross.
Now, the reason we call this off the top, it was the greatest Magic story never told. It's called The War of the Planeswalkers, and it took place back in, I think it was in the 80s or 90s. 90s, obviously.
Yeah,
in the 80s.
Took back in like 1982.
If you look at the art in the comics, it looks like it's from the 80s.
Yeah, they didn't have the top-of-the-line comic artists back then.
Yeah, no, they did not. But it took place back in the early 90s, did not really catch on the way Magic has today, so the comic line was actually canceled, so we have no idea what became of any of these people.
Some of them we do. There is additional story on them, but the actual Planeswalker War only exists pieced together on various like Magic lore websites and Wikipedia and stuff, so there's not a whole lot of oomph or robustness to this portion of the Magic story.
Which is unfortunate because it sounds really cool. A bunch of planeswalkers pre-being bitches all fighting each other. That's a bunch of gods fighting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I like it.
So that's Ravadel. That's why it's Chromium. I picked him solely out of flavor because both of them I think are kind of shitty as EDH generals. But here we are.
Yeah, both Chromiums, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let's get into it. We look at the deck, and we've got creatures up right now, and the creature suite looks kind of all over the place, but I know that the theme is, you called it Baby's First Stax deck.
Yeah.
And I dig what you're putting down. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's take a look at some of these dudes.
8 creatures, including Chromium.
So not very many. So we got Baleful Strix.
This guy's a good Stax guy if you can flash him. So black, blue, 1/1 flying, death touch. When he enters the battlefield, draw a card. Okay. If you could bounce him or block with him and get him back, he kills their attacker, and he draws you a card. And he can block kind of anything because he flies. Sure.
Evil Twin.
4 mana, black, blue, 2/0/0. When he enters the battlefield, he copies something, creature, and you can do blue, black, tap, destroy target creature with the same name. So he also good if you can bounce him. Okay.
Now, he's actually a flavor include because Chromium is a shapeshifter, and I know that his card shifts shapes, and it makes perfect storyline sense, but having a 1/1 sucks, so I threw this guy in there as like a removal spell and a shape-shifting theme thing.
Okay, yeah, no, I dig that. I think Evil Twin is super good. All-Star in Scrapatraxa Spy Kit deck that we did a couple months back. Super cool deck. Check it out.
Next up, we have a Plague Meter.
CCO staple, 2 mana, 1/1, taps for colorless, and Infect. So we're going to see a couple instances of Infect in here. I think because Chromium is unblockable.
Pontiff of Blight.
6 mana, black, black, 4, 2/7. So he's got a large butt. Extort. So whenever you cast a spell, you can pay white or black. And if you do, each opponent loses a life, you gain that much life. Important, that much life.
Yes.
Not just 1 life, that much life. And other creatures you control have Extort. So every creature that you control has Extort. If you cast another card, you can play black or white for each creature you control. So all of a sudden your opponents are losing like tons of life and you're gaining tons of life.
Correct. Sun Titan.
Also 6 mana. White, white, 4, vigilance, 6/6. When he enters the battlefield or attacks, you get a permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this is a Stax deck, he better be getting lands. Or Tanglewire.
Yeah, baby.
Okay.
He gets all kinds of things. One of those things could be a Thrall Parasite.
Yeah, 1/1 black Thrall with Extort, and you could tap, pay 2 life, remove a counter from target non-land permanent. Do you remove one of your own counters?
Or Planeswalkers, or Divinity counters if anybody's playing something stupid. It's just a utility thing, and it has Extort. I don't know why I went with Extort. Ravadel felt like an extortionist to me.
Yeah, maybe. I like that you're going to gain a lot of life because there's a card in here that takes advantage of it. Let's continue.
With Tithe Drinker.
Black, white, lifelink, 2/1, Extort.
Treasury Thrall.
Another 6-drop. God, you're killing me. 4/4 for black, white, 4 with Extort, and when Treasury Thrall attacks, you may return target artifact, creature, or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. But it's 6. It's excellent. Clear the board, attack with your 4/4, get something that you had to sacrifice to your own shit back. I like it in a Stax shell. I don't mind that card.
Where do you want to go next?
Instants and sorceries.
Instants and sorceries. Instants, there's not very many of these either. There's 3.
It's a little bit weird for a Stax deck. You want to be holding up mana as much as you can so you could do it last possible minute. I don't know if I dig this.
Babies for Stax decks, Ryan. So let's
Okay.
check it out. We have Hero's Downfall.
Black, black, 1. Destroy target creature or planeswalker.
Exactly
Full
what
stop.
Ravadel likes doing, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Mortify.
Black, white, 1. Instant. Destroy target enchantment or creature. Full stop.
Tainted Strike.
Another infector. So it's instant for black. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains infect. Now, if you infected Chromium when you don't mute him, that's 8. Okay.
It's not bad.
I don't mind that.
Want to check out some sorceries?
I wish there were some instances of proliferate in this deck.
All right. Okay. Well, we can talk about that in a minute.
Okay, yeah, we got a special section just for that.
Let's do some more sorceries here. We got Austere Command.
The first of 7, another 6-drop. Okay, so white, 4, choose one. artifacts, enchantments, creatures with mana cost 3 or less, or creatures with 4 or more. You destroy 2 of them.
Nice. Damnation.
Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated for black 2.
Demonic Tutor.
That's just a tutor for 2 mana. That's a good one.
Supreme Verdict.
Destroy all creatures can't be countered for 4 mana.
Toxic Deluge.
3 mana, destroy all creatures. You got to pay life for that one, though. Super good, actually, because it's 3 mana.
And it wrecks indestructible things.
Yes.
Very important.
Yep.
Vindicate.
Destroy target permanent. How come that's not an Anguished Unmaking? I'm just going to go right now into what that could be. Same mana cost, instant speed, lose 3 life. You're going to have the life.
You want the honest answer or the flavor answer?
Both.
Okay, flavor answer. Ravadel is a super vindictive human, thus Vindicate.
Okay, that's the thing.
Actual real life answer, I actually had a Vindicate on my table while I was typing in the deck list, and I was like, that's a really good card, and it's in the colors. I should play this.
As I say, full stop. Destroy target permanent. You could get a land with it, which I'm sure a Stax deck wouldn't mind doing every once in a while. And Anguish Unmaking, I believe, is non-land.
Correct.
Okay.
And lastly, we have Wrath of God.
It's the white damnation. Just kidding. It's Wrath of God. White 2, destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. You don't like regeneration in this deck, eh?
Regeneration is terrible.
Somebody was playing something that had regenerate the other day. I think it was JJ's vampire deck. Something in it regenerated, and I just couldn't kill it. God damn it.
What the hell card is it? Knight of the Holy Nimbus? I used to play it in a deck, and everybody was always so... It's a 2/2 for 2 with flanking, and every time it dies, it regenerates unless somebody pays 2.
Yeah.
And people are just like, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And they make a point of killing it. It's like, come on,
It's
dude.
super good with Suppression Field from Ravnica, I think. Suppression Field makes all activated abilities of creatures cost 2 more. It might be good in this deck, actually, because then it's harder for people to turn off your Knight and Clergy from Legends of the Holy Nimbus. They regenerate for free when they die. That was a deck I was trying to do for Legacy a little while ago, but...
You want to talk about some artifacts?
Absolutely.
Let's start with... It turns out my new favorite artifact in Magic.
And yeah, I just talked about this the other day, that every deck plays this, and now yours is no exception.
Aetherflux Reservoir.
Aetherflux Reservoir, super good with your Extort guys, if you can gain that much life. Really, you only have to gain 10. So.
11.
Yeah, 11, I suppose. 4 mana. When you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. So your first spell, you gain 1 life, then you gain 2 life, then you gain 3 life. I don't think that in this deck you're going to be casting any more than that.
No.
But if you can gain a life or 2 per spell in addition to your extorts, and then the second part of it is pay 50 life, Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player.
Good night.
See you later. Go get me a beer and get yourself an ice pack.
For your butt. Next up, we have the Azureus Signet.
That is the white-blue signet. Pay 1, tap it, get white-blue.
Chromatic Lantern.
3 mana, lands you control tap for any color, and you can tap it for any color.
Commander Sphere.
3 mana, tap it for any color, sacrifice it, no tap there. Super good. Super good in stacks if you can get it back with, I don't know, Sun Titan? Anyways, sacrifice it, draw a card.
Crucible of Worlds.
Crucible of Worlds, that's Sun Titan Jr. 3 mana, you may play land cards from your graveyards. Good with fetch lands. You running them? Of course you are.
Dimir Signet.
That's the black-blue signet.
Felwar Stone.
2 mana, taps for 1 mana of any color land an opponent controls could produce. What is that, Reflecting Pool? No.
How about Fractured Power Stone?
I saw this. Do you mean Worn Power Stone or Fractured Power Stone?
No, I mean Fractured Power Stone. Because we played Plane Chase the other night.
Okay.
And
So
Plane Chase is awesome.
People who don't play Plane Chase have no idea what this card is. So it's 2 mana artifact, tap for 1, or tap, roll the plane or die. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery.
So Rolling the Plane or Die is awesome in Plane Chase. I'm sure we'll talk about Plane Chase at some point throughout the life of the show because we really like it. And after playing it for the last couple of weeks...
Yeah, 100%. You know what? Last year in the first few episodes of the show, we mentioned that we Plane Chase. And since then, like a year and a half later, we haven't done a whole ton of Plane Chase. Maybe we do an episode on it because our group does it differently than lots of other groups I've seen how they do it. And our way, I think that we've found the best way to do it.
I think we cracked the code.
Yeah, we briefly outlined that we call it like a wormhole or rabbit hole plane chase in reference to jumping down the pile of planes 3 deep. and seeing 3 at a time, but only going to 1. So it's not like the Eternities map. It's not everybody gets their own mini plane deck. It's not put them all and then you just get what you get, right? So the way that we do it, I think, is the best way. And if CCO Nation wants to hear about it, let us know, either Twitter or Facebook, comment on any of our posts or whatever.
Yeah. Moving along, we have a grafted exoskeleton.
Here's some more infect. You know what? I'm thinking this deck might want to be green. I don't know. Anyways, there's green stacks. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Okay.
4 colorless. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has infect. And if grafted exoskeleton becomes unattached from a permanent, sacrifice the permanent. So if it gets unattached, it dies. The prefix grafted, that's what that means. If it gets unattached, it dies. Anyways, 2 to equip. So you're spending 6 mana to give something +2 and infect. Your Chromium, if he's not muted, becomes a 9/9 infector.
With flying.
Now, important though, when you discard a card to mute Chromium, he loses all abilities. So if you have it equipped and then you mute him, he loses infect.
And he's only a 1/1 still.
No, his base power and toughness is 1/1. He still gets the buff, but he loses infect. So you'd have to like unequip it, then equip it again.
And you can't do that.
No, you can because he only has hexproof, not shroud.
Well, yeah, but when you unequip it, he dies.
Oh yeah,
you'd kill 2 of your own creatures to get it back. It's the worst.
So this is what you do: Chromium equipped with grafted exoskeleton.
Attack.
Oh yeah, what you said.
That is all.
I was gonna say mute him to give him hexproof. Unequip it, he dies. Cast him again, mute him again, re-equip, swing. Oh, but he doesn't have haste. Oh, I'm so bad. Anyways,
next up we have a Helm of Obedience.
Ooh. You are after my own heart, sir. So this is maybe a win con, other than infect, I think, because nobody uses this card unless they're playing it with something else. Okay, 4 mana. I'm going to see if I can get this right. X, tap. Target opponent puts the cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard until he gets a creature or X cards, whichever comes first. If the creature's mana cost is X or less, you get it.
It's a hell of a card.
Yeah. But just moving ahead, if you play it with something like Leyline of the Void.
Who would ever play Leyline of the Void, Ryan?
It's a good card. Didn't you shit one out one time?
Yeah.
Anyways. If you play it with Leyline of the Void, X equals 1 or 2 or whatever, tap, they are putting stuff into their graveyard until they hit a creature. And if they don't hit a creature, because they can't, because Leyline exiles instead of putting it into your graveyard, you mill their whole deck. Boom.
Yeah.
That's Leyline of the Void, Helm of Obedience combo. That's like a vintage combo.
It's super dirty.
I don't know if it's a vintage combo anymore, but it used to be.
Could be.
Yeah,
in this deck, you can have it on turn 1.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
You could turn 1 mill a guy.
How do we do this? Let's find out. The next 2 artifacts could maybe help us.
Mana Crypt.
0, taps for 2, flip a coin at your upkeep. If you lose, take 3. Don't care.
Mana Vault.
1, taps for 3, doesn't untap unless you pay 4. If you leave it tapped, take a damage. Don't care. Gives you 3. So those 2 cards can give you 5 gall dang mana first turn. You could cast your Helm of Obedience, get your Leyline of the Void in play from your opening hand, still have mana left over for your Soul Ring.
And then you could use the Soul Ring to mill a guy.
Yes! Yeah, that's how you do it. Super sweet.
Next up, we have a Mox Amber.
Mox Amber. I think the weakest of the Moxes that we could be playing, but also not the most $100 of Moxes that we're playing. 0 drop, legendary artifact, taps to add 1 of any color among legendary creatures and or planeswalkers you produce. Now, if you added green to this deck, you could have a 4-color deck. That could give you 4 different colors instead of just 3.
I don't need 4 different colors, Ryan. I only need 3.
Moving on.
Okay, we're going to keep going. We have a Norns Annex.
Interesting include. Now, I get the life paying part, but people are going to be apt to pay life. Let's tell them what it does. Phyrexian White, 3.
So 3.
I like it. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays Phyrexian White for each of those creatures. So it's white or 2 life. That's what Phyrexian White means. Why not Propaganda? Ghostly Prison. Shit, if you added green, you could have a 4-color deck and you could have Collective Restraint, which is the...
Pay the number of enchantments you control.
No, it's pay the number of basic land types you control. So if you have 4 basic land types, they have to pay 4 for each creature that attacks you.
Ooh.
Yeah, people forget about Collective Restraint. That's an Invasion classic.
Yeah, we do. How about Orzhov Signet?
That's the black-white signet.
How about a Sol Ring?
That's a Sol Ring.
How about a Sphere of Resistance?
Okay. Let's look at this. 2-mana artifact. Spells cost 1 more to cast. Just full stop. Stax like them full stops, hey?
Yeah.
That's it. I dig it. That is a good Stax card.
Now, the next 5, their flavor includes, we're going to just bang through them real fast. We talk about them enough when we talk Voltron. I have all 5 swords to represent the 5 colors of mana that came from the Moxen, and then as I was building the deck, I found a card that was just 1 card, and then I was already done. So,
but you kept the swords.
I just kept the swords. So we're playing a suite of swords.
Okay.
It's Body and Mind, Feast and Famine, Fire and Ice, Light and Shadow, War and Peace. They give protection. They do all kinds of stuff. They're the best equipment in the game. If you're playing a Voltron deck, play them.
Can't argue. If you mute Chromium, they lose protections. That is all.
Next up, we have Tanglewire.
Oh, baby. Giving me shivers. 3-drop artifact. Fading 4, because it's from Nemesis. Terrible ability. Excellent if you could proliferate it. I don't know. Maybe if you had green and have some popular general. I don't know. Okay, so at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player taps an untapped artifact, creature, or land he or she controls for each fade counter on Tanglewire. Fading enters the battlefield with 4 counters because it's got fading 4. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a fade counter. When you can't remove a fade counter any longer, sacrifice it. So you get it for like 4 turns, but the 4th turn, nobody has to tap anything because there's no more fade counters on it. Okay, fine, whatever. If you can keep the fade counters on it, super sweet.
This is the Stax card that I know because it's from Nemesis.
Yeah, or if there is some way, and we talked about getting recurring value already from like bouncing your Baleful Strix, if you had something that could also bounce your Tanglewire at the end of your opponent's turn, then you can untap everything that you control and then drop your Tanglewire again to reset its fade counters. Ooh. Yeah, then everybody else has to tap 4 shit, and you don't have to tap any shit.
How about Thorn of Amethyst?
Love it. 2-drop. Artifact. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. So it hurts you because you're playing a lot of non-creature spells, but you got lots of mana rocks in the deck. Like there's 10 mana rocks in here. So I don't think that's terrible.
How about Torpor Orb?
2-drop. Creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. So again, a little bit of a non-bow with your Baleful Strix, but you don't currently have any way to bounce it to get super value off it. And I think you just drop your Baleful Strix before you drop your Torpor Orb.
Yeah.
And Sun Titan doesn't care about it.
And Sun Titan gives no F's about that crap. How about Trinisphere?
Oh, baby. 3-drop. If something costs less than 3, it just costs 3.
I learned playing Ponza, because I'm a dirt sandwich,
that it has its own step in casting spells.
And if you cascade into something, you still have to pay 3 for it. So when you Bloodbraid Elf into your whatever, it costs 3 instead of free, and that's bullcrap. But, you know, F you elves. And affinity. Speaking of affinity, last artifact, Winter Orb.
Here's another one that you could bounce at the end of turn, or if you had some way to tap or untap it. As long as Winter Orb is untapped, players can't untap more than 1 land during their untap steps. So it kind of rewards you for having lots of mana rocks. And if you had something like, whatever, first thing that comes to my mind, Mind Over Matter, that just says discard a card, tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. If you could discard your whatever that you don't need to tap Winter Orb, I don't know, you can untap everything and then just untap Winter Orb.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, that's a way to do it. Moving on. Planeswalkers?
Let's talk Planeswalkers. Now, the Planeswalkers are in here not for Stax purposes, although they do play through Stax pretty good.
They very much do.
Because once they're on the battlefield and your opponents can't really do very much, you have these things that just pump out value for fucking ever.
Maybe some of them are for for monetary considerations, but looking at the value of the deck, I don't think so because you're an asshole. Arguably, and CCO Nation, tell me I'm wrong, Elspeth Sun's Champion could potentially be best Planeswalker in EDH.
Probably, yeah.
So white 4, Elspeth, 4 loyalty, +1, put 3 white soldier tokens onto the battlefield.
+1?
Yeah. -3, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. So just mute Chromium and then destroy everything. Next turn is bash in for 9 or 10 infect.
So
Sweet.
Cool.
Sweet. Okay. -7, who cares? You get an emblem with creatures you control get +2/+2 and have flying. Chromium already has flying, but that +2 there with infect on him, that'll get you to 10.
Absolutely.
So that is an alternate win condition right there if you can plus her 3 times.
Which, again, in a well-played Staxy list, you could.
Yeah, and Okay, barring adding green aside and maybe running Atraxa, I said it, there is some ways to proliferate without having Atraxa. If you could proliferate her and get to that emblem, that's a real thing. The next one, I think, was in there because you wanted to play the swords.
Yes.
So Nahiri the Lithomancer, white, 3 for a 3-drop, or sorry, for a 3 loyalty Nahiri, +2 is you get a 1/1 white core soldier. And you can attach equipment to it, like just for free, right?
Yep.
Not terrible.
It's not the worst. You drop them in and you've got a dude with a grafted exoskeleton, or you've got a dude with a sword on him. Just bash in.
Yeah.
Again, incrementally, when they don't have anything,
It's too bad it doesn't have haste, eh?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Doesn't matter, I guess. -2, you can put an equipment from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield.
Also cool, it's recursion for your equipment.
Yeah, I've had a couple grafted exoskeletons be destroyed in my day because they get rid of your equipment and it kills your guy. So it's like a 2-for-1 for them, but Nahiri can get you that value back. Now her -10 is you get a legendary equipment, equips for 0, +5/+5, indestructible, and double strike.
It's not legendary.
Oh, so you can get more than one of them.
So
if you could -10 her twice in the same game, in the same year. How big does Chromium get in that case? He becomes a 12/12. So he becomes a 2-hitter instead of a 3-hitter.
Yeah. 2-pump chump.
Instead of a 3. That's like 33% less pumps. Okay. Now,
Don't Google that either.
Yeah, please. The next one, I really don't like this one. I understand why it's good in the deck, but I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I hate this bitch. Narset Transcendent? Are you kidding? Saying it gave me a hive, Ryan.
Gave you shingles again.
Narset Planeswalker is a 6 loyalty Planeswalker for 2 white-blue, +1. Look at the top card of your library. If it's non-creature, non-land, reveal it, put it into your hand. Lots of those in this deck.
So, yeah, I mean, you play her for 4, you probably draw a card off of her.
Probably. Depending on the situation.
Yeah. Okay, her -2.
-2 is when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell from your hand, it gains rebound.
Ooh.
Rebound is you play it, then you remove it from the game, and on your next upkeep, you play it again.
Not terrible. So, okay, it's a 4-mana twin cast, but you got to wait a turn. Okay.
And you do that 3 times before Narset dies.
Yeah, that's a thing. Hey, she got 6 loyalty for 4 mana? Talk about gaining 6 life and using Aetherflux Reservoir.
And that's the ability I played her for.
Oh, yeah?
Not the draw card, but that. Because in my head, if I'm staxing somebody and I'm playing against a going wide aggro deck that possibly has the ability to rebuild really fast, like faster than my Stax things can take away their resources, if you Wrath of God them, it wipes them out.
Oh, shit. I was thinking of Vindicate.
And then they can't, or they can, but they wouldn't rebuild again because the next turn it's all going to get wrathed away anyway.
Fuck. You know what you could do? Narset, -2, Wrath of God. Next turn, Wrath of God, Damnation. Next turn, Damnation, Supreme Verdict. Next turn, Supreme Verdict. You could have 6 Wraths. Like, you could stack 2 Wraths per turn or just stretch 3 Wraths over 6 turns.
It's pretty cool.
I don't mind that now.
Yeah. And then her ultimate one is you get an emblem with your opponents can't cast non-creature spells.
And you're just wrathing their creature spells.
Yeah.
So, okay, her +1. So you'd have to plus her 4 times and then -9 her, so she would be at 1. I don't know, it's too slow. The ultimates always are too slow, but
this one's really good, and it works really well in the deck. Just ability 1 and 2 are what she's there for.
Okay, I'm really digging Elspeth and Narset now. Okay, who else we got?
Teferi Temporal Archmage.
Okay, you, sir, are a piece of crap. 5 loyalty Teferi for blue 4 +1. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, the other on the bottom. Ooh, I like that. That's real card draw.
Yeah.
So
mad card advantage.
That's good. Mana advantage, -1. Untap up to 4 permanents.
Works good with Tanglewire. Because you can untap your 4 permanents that you tangled with Tanglewire.
Oh, yeah. -10. So he's got to be alive for 6 turns if you want to live after his -10. You get an emblem with, you can play loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers on each turn.
That's insane.
That's never going to happen because you're going to use his minus ability. You're going to go like up tick, down tick, up tick, down tick. right? And then people are going to attack him because you're getting so much value through your stack stuff with him.
Tezzeret the Seeker.
CCO staple at this point?
I think so.
I think so. I really like this Tezzeret. 4 mana Tezzeret, blue, 3, +1. Untap up to 2 target artifacts. So you're untapping through your Tangle Wire again. And you're tapping, untapping with Tezzeret and tapping again. That gets around the mana vault conundrum and gets you 6 mana so you can cast stuff through your spheres, your things that make stuff cost more mana. -X is search your library for an artifact with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield. Super great for ramp. We talk about that all the time. In his -5, artifacts you control become 5/5s until end of turn. So you plus them, untap 2 things, make a bunch of mana. Next turn, you crash in for the win because you just Wrath of God, then you Tezzereted, and then you made all your artifacts 5/5s.
Lets you win with aggro.
So that's 2 Planeswalkers that are letting us alt win con through our own stacks. Good on you. Okay, I'm digging it.
Okay, so lastly, maybe leastly, I don't know.
Or mostly.
Yeah, there we go. Lastly and mostly, we have the enchantment section. This is where Stax decks typically live. And again, baby's first Stax deck, so be kind with me.
I think you got some good ones. And you got some ones that I'm like, and you got some ones that are, maybe let's proliferate them.
Okay.
Okay, so there's only 13 of them. And enchantments and artifacts, let's say that's where Stax Decks lives. But you hit the nail on the head with the first one, Aura of Silence, white, 1. Enchantments and artifact spells your opponents cast, just your opponents, cost 2 more.
And you can sack it to destroy an artifact or an enchantment.
Yeah, dual utility. Super good.
How about Black Market?
Okay, this is a little bit of a weird one, but I dig it. Black, 3. When a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, get a black for each charge counter on it. Now, we've all seen Black Market get up to, 25, 30 mana pre-combat, and that makes us really want to run like Exsanguinate or Torment of Hailfire, because those are like alternate win cons in a Stax deck because you just get free mana from your Black Market. You're not doing it. We're not proliferating those charge counters. Do we get that many before it gets destroyed if people know that we're not running those cards? What is this for?
I run this one totally 100% banking on everybody being way more worried about my other stuff than it. And then when I damnation the aggro player twice in a row, ba-bam, 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 it'll have enough counters on it where I can eke out some incremental value or play my 6-drop dudes for 2. That's why I play.
Yeah, your 2-drop dudes that cost 6, and then you play them for 2.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the mixed Sun Titan cost white instead of white 4. That's kind of what it's there for, because I know that the deck is a little bit top-heavy as far as mana costs go, and this is a way of mitigating that.
Okay, I don't mind that. I like the, you know how I make the joke value Yawgmoth's Will, when you just need to get something back from your graveyard and play a land? It's like the value Black Market.
Yeah.
Now, you did hear me say that we can proliferate those charge counters and we can use it as an alt win con to get it up to 20 or 30 after a Wrath and then Exsanguinate or Debt to the Deathless. That's all possible in this deck.
How about Blind Obedience?
Enchantment, white, 1, extort, and also artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. I like that one. Takes away haste, takes away abilities, and just takes away blockers. I like that one. And it gains you life. And it's early game extort, super powerful. Sweet.
How about Decree of Silence?
Oh, baby. Now you're playing Stax. Now, this is an 8-drop, so I'm not really a huge fan of it, but you can cycle it for 6. You draw a card. When you cycle it, you counter a spell. Draw a card, counter a spell for 6. Still lots. Let's hear what it does. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, counter that spell and put a depletion counter on Decree of Silence. If there are 3 or more depletion counters, sacrifice it. Partner that with a little ditty called Solemnity.
Which we're also playing.
Solemnity is players can't get counters. We'll talk about that in a second. Counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. Now, non-bow with Infect, non-bow with Tanglewire, non-bow with Proliferating and adding attracts and all the things that I said. So if we added green, those 2 cards would probably come out. But as it stands, Solemnity and Decree of Silence, hard lock. Love it.
Hard lock. Dunzo, you can still play your everything because it's only for your opponents.
Yeah, so sick. Love it, love it, love it. You're after my own heart.
I'm trying. We already talked about Leyline of the Void.
Leyline of the Void, just real quick, black 2, if it starts in your opening hand, you can start the game with it on the battlefield, and if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So it shuts off Entomb and Reanimate strategies, and it's only for your opponent. Some people say, oh, well, there's like a 1 mana remove cards from graveyard spell or a 0 mana Tormod's Crypt. No, this is only your opponent's. That's why it's good. That's why you combo it with Helm of Obedience. Moving on.
Light Minefield.
White 2, this is from that Boros Barbed Wire deck we did a couple weeks back. Whenever one or more creatures attacks, Light Minefield deals damage to each of those creatures equal to the number of attacking creatures. 2 creatures attack, they both take 2. 3 creatures attack, they all take 3, and so on and so on. Shuts off token strategies.
Not totally great if you've muted your Chromium, but just play smart.
Yeah, I suppose. I think you mute Chromium, if you're not attacking with him, you mute Chromium with a land or something you can get back with Sun Titan to give him hexproof so he doesn't die.
Correct.
Okay.
How about Mana Vortex? That's a good card, right?
Baby. Blue 1. When you cast it, you gotta sacrifice a land. If you don't, it gets countered. So again, you just Sun Titan or Crucible the land back. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacks a land. Super sweet when all their stuff costs more and you start offing all their lands. When there are no lands on the battlefield, sacrifice Mana Vortex. That'll never happen because you're going to have your Crucible of Worlds.
Correct.
Sweet. And your random map excavator guy if you add green.
Right. And we're playing 10 rocks, so we don't need fucking land.
I suppose. Well, somebody needs land or Mana Vortex goes, but...
Well, yeah, I guess. We just have that one.
Yep.
Excellent. Sweet. How about Mystic Remora?
Ooh, baby. Blue. Cumulative upkeep 1. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 4. Key there, it's on turn 1, so nobody be paying 4 for their mana rocks. So you're just going to draw 3, 4 cards, 5 cards. Like, okay, so you're playing Stax, you're playing the long game. You draw a card or 2 or 3 the first round of the table. You pay the 1 and forego playing whatever on turn 2. You draw 2 or 3 more cards, right? Like, how long do you keep it around before you fall too far behind? I think you only keep it around like for 2 turns, but you could Sun Titan it back.
Or if you have Solemnity, it doesn't get age counters, so you can keep it around for free.
That was my third point was going to be that for sure.
Also, it has a fish on it, and that's awesome.
Super cool.
Next up, we have Nether Void.
You are an asshole for playing this card because it's almost $1,100. There are like pseudo replacements for Nether Void. We're going to get into them. There is no Magus of the Void. I thought there was, but there's not.
Talking about it before the show, I was so goddamn sure.
There's Magus of the Abyss, and I think that might be a suitable analog.
C18?
Oh!
There's new Maguses in there all the time.
Always. Hey, man, maybe you just read the future. At this time, we've only seen 1 card, so F Magus of the Void. Okay, black 3, World Enchantment, so you can only have 1. Whenever a player casts the spell, counter it unless they add an additional 3. So...
Good luck with that, Chud.
Yeah, and they can't cast it with your other spheres and mana increasers unless they also pay those. So then on top of that, they have to pay 3. Okay.
If we're going to play Stax, we'll play Stax right, Ryan. How about Phyresis?
Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets Infect for black 1. Full stop.
Heuristic Study.
This card's like $20 now. C18 maybe. Blue 2. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you draw a card unless they pay 1. This card wins people games because nobody wants to pay the extra 1. They're already paying extra 1s for all your spheres. They're not going to pay extra 1 so you don't draw cards, and that is how you win games. You draw more cards than the other person. That's how Stax wins.
Heuristic Study needs a reprint.
100%.
This card needs a reprint. It's a common.
Yeah.
Commons shouldn't cost $20.
No.
Especially when they're not on the reserve list. This is a non-reserve list card that's at common that costs $20. They need to reprint this.
I don't want to see it reprinted just because I don't want to see it in a modern card frame. F you, Evan.
Rule of Law.
White 2. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell per turn. I like it.
And then we
Stax stable. You know what? There is a blue one as well. Arcane Lab or something. Arcane something.
Arcane Laboratory.
Sure. Exact same card set blue.
You play it in Werewolves. Ha. And then we already talked about Solemnity. So that is the deck.
I love it. So when we look at the deck, we talked about card draws. Now we've got Heuristic Study, Teferi, Sword of Fire and Ice. Probably not enough. And Mystic Remora, right? Like there is a few ways to draw cards. Do we include Sun Titan in there? He costs 6 and he doesn't really draw you a card. Like he's the best thing in your graveyard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. if you're going to play Stax, you got to have ways to eke out more advantage, and usually that means card advantage. But I would say card quality advantage as well. If you could fit something in there that loots, that's fine. You got a Commander Sphere too if you have lots of mana, whatever. Okay, targeted removal 5. We talked about Anguished Unmaking versus Vindicate. Yep. I still think that that's a good upgrade. I like Swords and Path, and they're not in here. For 1 mana, kill whatever. Swords and Path probably should go in here instead of...
Hero's Downfall, which is a flavor include because...
Okay, yeah. Instead of Hero's Downfall, I would give up the flexibility of destroying a Planeswalker. And Mortify, I would give up the flexibility of destroying an enchantment to just pay 1 mana to kill any creature. Because you already have taxing effects that make like the 5 and 6 mana enchantments that are so good in Commander, you make them harder to play, right?
Mm.
So if you have 1 mana shut off, their strategy ends up being, hey, I'm just going to try and kill them with this big couple creatures.
I'm playing Omnath.
Yeah. Well, now you're not, because now he's going to cost like 8 or 10 mana the next time you cast him, because I spent 1 mana to get rid of him. Anyways, Mass Removal 5, and that doesn't count Narset because I didn't think of that. But if you double that to 10, okay, that's lots. Mana Rocks and Dorks, and I'm counting Sun Titan here.
Okay.
Because he's such a card advantage house in that you can continue getting lands back, and you're playing fetch lands.
And of course he's white.
Yeah. Okay. Stax cards, Staxy cards, 16.
It's pretty good.
The only thing that I had written here is what is on theme and what isn't, right? And you said like Hero's Downfall is, the swords are, but you actually found Command Beacon. So if we wanted to, we could cut those swords for more card draw and control.
Correct. Very easily, very quickly. No attachment to the swords. I just had the Voltron kind of theme in there because I know I'm not the best Stax deck builder. This is kind of an experiment for me too. So I put the swords in as kind of a, what do you call it, like a backstop.
Okay, yeah.
Because sometimes I just need to turn a creature sideways to win a game. And that's
And
how
you know
I do
what?
it.
I think that Chromium probably can do that on his own. Remember, 3-hit chump, if you're killing or making it hard for them to put anything in Chromium's way, that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's give Command Beacon a read real quick because it's a commander-only land.
Command Beacon is a land. Costs $22. Add 1 colors to your mana pool or tap, sack it, put your commander from the command zone into your hand.
So it lets you avoid commander tax, and it pseudo lets you draw a card on a land that you can get the land back with Sun Titan or Crucible of Worlds. So it negates commander tax if you have either of those cards.
And it's on theme because it draws commander things to it.
Ooh.
Right? It's F.
Yeah, I do like it. Okay, but the swords could be cut.
Absolutely.
And if you're cutting the swords, cut Chromium. He's not your attacking commander anymore. Atraxa is, and you're playing green, and you're playing Proliferate with Atraxa and Infect. And if we want to get into it a little bit, like...
And the deck is called Stax Traxa, and it's part of Project Atraxa, coming soon.
I dig it. We're gonna let the stacks cool off because I'm sure some people are just like, I hate it. Right, so we're going to let the stacks cool off, but we're going to do that deck.
I feel like I'm pissing off the whole audience with this deck because there's the people who hate stacks. Like, why are they talking about stacks? What's wrong with them? And there's the people who play stacks. Why is Brando so bad at stacks?
Here's the thing. I think everybody who doesn't play stacks is it's a super difficult deck to build and to pilot. So everybody who plays it is terrible at it. Unless you're good at it, then
you're still terrible.
Then everybody that you play against you think is terrible because you're that fucking guy. Oh, everybody's saying you're so terrible. Why did you build that deck? Oh my god, I'm better than you because I'm smarter because I can play stacks. Right? Like it's kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, stacks players, but get a life. Here's what I think. Turn 1 and 2 in this deck in this order. Ramp if you can, and then stacks piece, and then get some card draws or incremental advantage in. I don't think that that's really a thing. Like your Mystic Remora on turn 1 is probably the only exception to that where you would want to get that in before you start to ramp. But everything else, get your Soul Rings, get your Signets, get your Mana Vaults and Crypts and turn 1, right?
Yeah.
Turn 3, 4, recurring value. Get your Crucible, get your Rhystic Study, get your Reservoir and start trying to gain a little bit of life. Right? I think that that's how it works. Or start to get a Planeswalker. If you could ramp on turn 1 and 2 into a Planeswalker on 3, super good, right? Turn 4, 5, Wrath. start killing everything, because rebuilding with 6 and 7 drops that are common in Commander, a little bit more difficult when you can just spot remove them or tax the shit out of them. And then turn 5+, get Chromium, infect somebody, hold on.
Beat wholesale ass.
Yeah, right. And that's where the swords help, is that late game where you've got Chromium, you've maybe muted them a couple times and got advantage from your Crucible or your Sun Titan getting the card you discarded to mute them to keep them alive. Then all of a sudden it's like turn 7, rip a sword of whatever, Feast and Famine, cast, equip, swing, right? And then turn later.
Now you're wrecking their hand.
Exactly.
Untap all your land. Do some more stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how this deck plays. Now, budget section.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
baby.
Here we go.
Jeepers.
Here we go.
So, a whopping $3,568 will buy you this deck as Brando built it.
F the budget.
I
haven't got to say that in weeks.
God damn it.
I even went overboard on the land base. I didn't even build a good land base. I just put duels and shocks and fetches and filters.
So here's the thing. I've got highlighted here, your average converted mana cost, 2.23. Now you've admitted that it's high on the top end. Lots of 6 drops. Okay, fine. Deck building principles. Get your colors and your lands to line up. You've got way more white cards than you have white mana sources. And I think that's just because you literally just went as much like tri-land, fetch land, shock land, dual land, mana base. And it's very symmetrical, whereas your color distribution in your spells is not.
And one of the things with playing a land base like that, I don't want to sound, I'm so much better because I can do that. But like when you have a dual shock fetch filter mana base, you don't worry about colors.
You kind of don't, but if you're going to take my suggestion in saving literally $1,200, you're going to cut your Underground Sea, your Tundra, and your Badlands.
What?
You're going to do it.
What?
Because normal people don't play those cards.
What? Fine.
Then, okay, I'm conceding, keep the shocks, keep the fetch lands, play the cheapy fetch lands that we always talk about because you need that value off of your Sun Titan and your Crucible. You're going to cut your Ancient Tomb.
Whoa.
Because it's $50 and taking 2 damage per turn in addition to your Mana Crypt, in addition to your Mana Vault, in addition to playing Stax and getting hated on, in addition to playing Aether Flux Reservoir, you can't give away any more life. You're going to pick up, hear me out, gain lands because you're going to be able to sacrifice them and play them again, and sacrifice them and play them again to gain life off them each time. That's actually really good in a deck that wants to run 20 turns. If you could gain like 10 life off of a gain land, off of a land.
But I want to tap the land to play a spell, Ryan.
You're not going to be playing as many spells as you think. And that's why I say you need those 1-drop instants in there, right? That's why they're in there. So you can gain advantage incrementally in different ways that people can't interact with you on unless they're playing Vivictus Asmodi land destruction. Or they steal your Leyline of the Void. Pack your graveyard hate, kids. You're going to cut the Nether Void and maybe play Magus of the Abyss. Maybe you could play Magus of the Tabernacle.
Not the Abyss or the Tabernacle.
No.
The Magus of those things. We're saving money right now.
Yeah.
For the record, I did consider putting the Tabernacle and the Abyss in this deck just to be a dink.
I hate you. Now, get this. You could cut the Nether Void and still expensive, but you could play Academy Rector. You're going to save $1,000 doing this. Everybody loves saving $1,000.
Yes.
Okay? And when it dies, you could search for your Solemnity or your Decree of Silence, whatever side of the lock that you don't have, right? And you could add a sack outlet like whatever, and you could run a high market, again, because it's just a cheapy land that lets you sack a creature to gain a life on your land. You could sacrifice your Academy Rector to find the other half of your lock.
Ooh.
Yeah, so just throwing that out there as a way to save $1,000. And it's good to have a sack outlet in a Stax deck.
Sure.
Because people are going to come after you. And nobody's going to come after your Academy Rector. So you're going to have to kill it. And if you sub in Swords and Path, that's not going to do it. And you're sure as fuck not going to waste your Hero's Downfall on it. Right? Even if you can rebound it. All those 5 swords we talked about, $155. That's where we're going to get the extra room for any of that 1-drop instant speed removal. We could cut Nahiri if that's the case, right? Because we're getting rid of all the swords. I think keep the Grafted Exoskeleton.
Definitely.
Because that's really good. Particularly if you could proliferate with something like Contagion Engine. Acts as like a pseudo board wrath. When it enters the battlefield, target player, all their creatures get -1/-1 counters. And then it's 4 tap, proliferate.
pretty good.
So if you hit somebody for 8 infect, like your Tainted Strike Chromium is going to do 8, then you proliferate, they're going to be at 10, they're going to die.
Neat.
Yeah. And you could, if you ran like a Phyrexia's Core, you could sacrifice your Contagion Engine to gain a life and then somehow get it back with like your Eternal Witness if you switch to Atraxa.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Suggested savings, 10 cards, $2,500. There's your budget section, everybody.
Oh, dang.
Deck still costs $1,000.
Wow.
Final thing I want to suggest, and I know that this kind of goes against the budget thing as well, is Recruiter of the Guard to find that Academy Erector. Because then you can use the Academy Erector to find your lock piece. It's like a combo chain.
Who's a piece of shit now, Ryan?
Well, it's always been me.
Yeah, that's true.
It's always been me. You just like to spend more money building decks than I do. I like to be a piece of shit on a budget. I don't just throw money at being a piece of shit.
I feel like that might actually make me a bigger piece of shit, Ryan.
Oh,
yeah.
You might be right.
Ah, damn.
CCO Nation, you let us know. Who's the bigger piece of shit? Anyways, strengths and weaknesses?
Let's do some strengths and weaknesses.
Let's plow through them because I'm sure at this point it's pretty evident
Yeah.
that I can speak.
Correct.
Strengths. Control.
Yeah.
Despite having no Cyclonic Rift in here, there should be a Cyclonic Rift in here. Control. Stacks can be super powerful if you're willing to go the distance. You like 2 or 3 hour games? This is your deck. Esper. Best stacks combination in my opinion.
But you just suggested we add green.
Yeah, but you don't need to if you went like full blown and you actually didn't care about the budget. Like if we built this deck in real life, there's no way I'm putting a Nether Void in it, putting an Eternal Witness instead of a Nether Void.
But yeah, if you have the Nether Void.
And like an Erratic Portal to bounce my Eternal Witness. Something like that.
And a Invoke Prejudice.
No, you're still doing it wrong.
You don't play Evoke Prejudice if you're not
still
caring.
Like $300.
But we're not caring about the budget, is what we're talking about.
Oh no!
Like if you have unlimited budget to build it, do you put Evoke Prejudice in a Stax deck?
Maybe a mono blue Stax deck.
Because it takes out all the red and green, which again is most of your creature swarm, right? That's how a Stax deck would build something that could just play like fart out 100 creatures in a turn.
I suppose. Yeah, it's a good card. But it's like 4 blue or something, isn't there? Or 3
Yeah,
blue?
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous
F
card.
that card.
But
This deck, I like this as a strength, rewards politickery. Politrickery.
there
right?
we go.
Thinking out your plan, good timing. Essentially, because it is a difficult deck to play, it rewards you from being skillfully and timing correctly and sneaking in that little comment here and there like, hey, what about this? Or remember when Geoff did that? Or, hey, this is what the threat is. He's going to Crater Hoof next turn. Somebody get it. I already countered that thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, weakness, difficult to play. That's why everybody who isn't, air quotes, a Stax player is bad at it, and Stax players hate everybody trying to be a Stax player. Anyways, draws a ton of hate, super expensive. It's the kind of thing that you almost have to be left these cards in a will at this point, or otherwise you're never going to play this deck.
Yeah.
Extremely difficult to pilot. I think that's
the key. And in this particular list, again, we talk about it a few times. It's kind of all over the place because I also have like the theme includes. Like the Planeswalkers are theme includes. The swords are theme includes. I'm playing Subopter removal for theme reasons because Ravidel and Chromium, right?
That's okay because none of those cards, other than like maybe Nahiri and Narset, if you're not building around them, none of those cards are bad. They're just suboptimal compared to what the ideal Stax list is in Esper.
Yeah.
But none of them are bad cards. So I think that's fine. Milk list?
How we do card of the week.
What are we doing this week? What do you got? What do you think? What do you know?
This week we're going to go Pontiff of Blight.
Pontiff of Blight. Zombie Cleric. So he's got at least one super relevant creature type. 2/7 for black 4. Extort. Other creatures you control have extort. So I like this guy. Used to have him in my zombie deck because it had lots of low to the ground, like 2-drop, 3-drop zombies. And I thought, okay, that's really cool. It plays like big mana black package, but he costs 6. So what do you think? What do you think about him? I think he costs 6. That's too much.
I think once you've hit a 6 and you're playing it, like you say, in a low to the ground deck of any sort, zombies or not, you play any spell and you clearly have 6 mana. Play something for 1, you can tap 5, and hypothetically, let's say you're playing against 3 other people, you just gain 15 life. And
I think, if you've gone creature on 4, 5, 6, right? 4, 5, then him. You've got 3 creatures. Then any 1, 2 drop, whatever off the top of your deck is like pay 3, gain an extra 9 life.
It gives every spell you play multi-kicker of Orzhov Drain. And that's pretty cool. I think that there's a lot of times when that becomes very useful.
I like that multi-kick of Orzhov Drain.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Dig that.
Cool picture.
It's a super cool picture, and it only costs 50 American cents or 365 Canadian dollars if you include the tariff.
Yeah, for sure. Cool foil, too.
What's it from? It's from C14 and... Is it Dragon Maze?
Yep.
An actual good card from Dragon Maze.
Whoa. Well, I was kind of soft on it. I wasn't as high on it as you were, but yes.
But still, this is probably the best card in Dragon's Maze. That might not be true. This maze's end. But there we go.
Hey, Dragon Maze has won me at least 1 game. Pontiff of Blight has won me a whopping 0 games ever.
Touché.
Results-oriented thinking.
Touché.
Milk List?
Everybody loves the Milk List.
Milk List, as per edhrec.com, is a list of all of the most commonly played cards at each converted mana cost in any color combination. Today, Esper. Or as the kids like to say,
Esper my D?
I was going to say blue, white, black.
Oh, I don't think anybody says that.
I think they say Esper.
Yeah.
The 0 drop in Esper. Mana Crypt.
Yes.
Soul Ring at 1.
Yes.
Cyclonic Rift at 2.
No.
You missed. You missed that one.
I did it.
Chromatic Lantern at 3.
Yes.
Supreme at 4.
Yep.
Gilded Lotus at 5.
Nope.
Merciless Eviction. That's not a bad one.
Nope.
Magister Sphinx at 7.
Nope.
Sphinx of the Steel Butthole at 8.
Nope.
Darksteel Forge at 9.
Nope.
Omniscience at 10.
Nope.
Mycosynth Golem? I guess that's an artifact card, yeah, at 11.
Nope.
Blightsteel Colossus.
Nope.
Emrakul Promised End.
Nope.
Dinkmouth Infusion.
Nope.
4 Milk List matches.
That's okay.
You're playing Esper, like an Esper control deck. I thought we were going to have more, but you didn't have a Rift or a Gilded Lotus.
I thought about Gilded Lotus, but then just didn't play it.
You know, it's a 5 mana rock that is going to get taxed because of your own sphere effects. Sure, it's good once you have it because you negate the cost of your sphere effects with 1 card, but no.
It still costs me, call it 7. You tap it for 3 mana for 7.
It does get around Trinisphere, but it doesn't get around Sphere of Resistance. It doesn't get around anything else like that. And if you did want it to go more stacks and put in things like Thalia, like original Thalia, that makes non-creatures cost more, and Glow Rider, which makes non-creatures cost more. Those are other common stacks creatures. And Gaddock Teague, like you can't cast it if you had Gaddock Teague, if you added green, right? So you got to be careful of mana rocks like that because it's like really good, but
You read the text box, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it contextually, and maybe it's not always the best.
Okay, Spice Calculator. We're going to go through it quickly. We got 2 tutors in here. We've got a Tezzeret and a Demonic Tutor.
Yeah, the good one.
Definitely the good one. Okay, popularity. Right now, edhrec.com, 41 lists only for Chromium. Puts them pretty low down there under Old Chromium, who's got 56 lists in 25 years.
Now, why didn't I play the other Chromium? Should we read her just real fast?
Absolutely.
Okay, Old Chromium is a 7/7 for white, white, blue, blue, black, black 2.
Oh my god.
What the hell? Flying.
Mind you, that's like the new one costs 7. This one costs 8.
This one has 6 pips on it.
Yeah.
What do you get? What do you get for 8?
It's probably good.
6 of which are hard colors. You got a flying Rampage 2. Rampages, they get +2/+2 when it gets blocked.
By the second thing.
Yeah. And at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay white, blue, black. It's terrible.
It's actually bad.
It's a really terrible
I
card.
think it's actually the worst of the original Elder Dragons.
It even has kind of a crappy picture on it, to be honest with you.
They just all had like metal album covers that were drawn by people in other people's basements in the 80s. That's where they got the arts for those. Anyways,
yeah.
It's the 14th most popular commander on edhrec.com. I think it's going to go up. I think you'll see it jump up to about as high as 10. There might be 200 lists for this guy.
I would say it'll probably max out around there too, yeah. Yeah. Not very good, but, give her time.
Average CMC, 3.23. I said that that's too high for a Stax deck, but we cut a bunch of swords and added 1 mana instance, which would lower that to about sub 3 for sure. Anyways, optimal game size, 4. Don't draw any more hate than you have to in those big games.
Correct. Especially if you're playing stacks, you want to keep it to a number. You want to pick a number when you build the deck and then build for that number.
Yeah. For example, 1v1 stacks or 4-man pod, you're a douchebag stacks. Okay.
Yeah.
Uniqueness rating. Cards in your list that are different than the stock list on edhrec.com. The list there isn't very established yet, I don't think, because we've only had it up for a couple weeks and people are putting like the obvious includes in. Your list, 40 cards different than the EDHREC list.
That's right.
Still good because I don't think people are taking them the Stax route. Not yet, not ever. I don't know if people are doing Voltron with them. I know things like Black Market were in there, some of the removal, some of the rocks. I'm sure one day you'll see those swords start popping up in the EDHREC lists because people are going to find out that muting them to make them unblockable, then suiting them up and like putting a hatred on them or something is going to be good. But I mean, that's just hatred. It's good. 40 list or 40 unique cards, punch it all in. 39. Spice.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's not 50. That's where we like to be on CCO, but it's
Yeah.
also, you had 2 tutors in there. You get a couple points if you only had 1. And if you cut all those fast mana rocks out and played like janky, like unblockable tribal or something, I mean, that sounds more CCO and you'd probably get a 50 or 60 on the spice rating there.
It also sounds more like something that I would do.
I agree with that.
What's the theme of this one? Everything is unblockable.
Oh,
What are you doing?
you'd still have the infect in there, right?
Absolutely,
Okay,
I would.
good.
I would have
Yeah.
more infect than I do now.
Man after my own heart, for sure. Okay, what do you think? Second last week in Arc of Planeswalker, Chromium the Mutable, new kind of contemporary take on stacks. Good? Bad? Would you build it in real life if you had $7 trillion?
I think building this deck was an experience for me because I've never built stacks before, which is kind of why I wanted to try it. And I had a really hard time coming up with something to build for this week. I had like builder block or whatever you want to call it. And you suggested stacks at some point. And I was like,
I think I brought up stacks when I was talking about kind of not flexing on your meta, but mixing up your meta to keep people challenged so it doesn't get stale, or so your meta doesn't settle and just become like 4 or 5 dudes bobbing in the water, you know, holding their cards up so they don't get wet. I want to make it challenging, and I think stacks like the Vivictus Asmodi Land Destruction deck is how we started talking about this. I think that does this. I think that's how we started on the stacks route.
yeah, so I gave it a try, and I kind of dug parts of it, and then I didn't dig other parts. So what I did was what I'm doing from this is I talked last week I want to build that bear, so I'm going to do mono green bear stacks.
Terror of Kelsisma or whatever. What's his name?
I don't remember.
I don't know. He makes
Goreclaw. That's her name.
Goreclaw, Terror of Kelsisma makes your 4 power dudes cost less or something.
Yeah, and then I can place some kind of green color hate stuff and some of the other stacksy things that we've been talking both on the show and kind of off the mic in that deck, along with some creatures that have no business costing 3. And
Like
maybe
Gulta?
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
or Vorinclex.
Would also be good if he cost 3.
Well, it doesn't cost 3, but it'll cost less.
I don't mind it.
In this deck, so maybe it'll be cool. It's kind of given me some ideas and some directions on where I can go to fill out my deck box. I've taken a few decks apart. I took apart my Marchesa Queen of Death Touch deck, which I kind of feel bad about because, I don't know, I like that deck a lot. And I took apart Snakes. Miss Snakes.
Oh, you took about snakes. That was like episode 5.
Yeah, it was the 3rd deck I ever built.
And
First one I ever tried to foil out.
Queen Marchesa was episode 10.
Yeah, it was very popular. People liked that.
Way back, hey?
Death Touch Tribal.
Dang.
But yeah, so those both came apart, and I'm kind of looking for new stuff to do. So I'm going to try a mono green Goreclaw stacks list.
Sounds terrible.
If anybody wants to help me out, and looking at this deck list, I need all the help I can get. Hook us up, hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. I'm CCO Brando if you want to find me on there as opposed to just the show. Yeah, I'd appreciate any help you have to offer me.
Yeah. Or send him a big FU because he's actually being inspired by the stacks episode and is going to build stacks. At least you're CCOing it with big creatures and do it in mono green and not in Esper or like white blue.
Like actual stacks colors.
Oh, you know who'd be good in this deck I just thought of? Super hot Hannah Ship's Navigator.
Yeah. She's good in every deck, isn't
Yeah.
she?
It sounds like your final thoughts of the day. Anything else? Bookend this episode for us.
Okay, bookending the episode. Remember, you have 1 week left to enter into our Kenrith Twins giveaway. You can do that by interacting with us anywhere on social media. That includes bidding on Ryan's altar cards or checking us out on Podomatic, where we're trying to take down the scrapbooking ladies. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter. Becoming a patron will get you entries. anything you can do to kind of help us spread the show out into the world, we will thank you by putting your name in the hat a couple more times. As far as the deck goes, I really enjoyed the exercise of building it more than I enjoy the actual deck, as this really isn't really my speed, but I know it's in Ryan's wheelhouse, so we ended up having an okay discussion about it anyway. I hope you guys super dug it. So building the deck was an adventure, and it was a journey, as is every week here on Commander Cookout Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I know we did. We're going to be back next week for the last episode. We're thinking, a Planeswalker we haven't done yet? Yeah. So tune in to see what we've come up with on the next episode of Commander Cookout Podcast. Hit our theme song! Ravadell.